Hey, party people. Thank you for sitting through my technical difficulties. Okay. Okay. All right. So we have all these lovely messages. Hello, 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 hello. Mm, all right. So this is a really awkward view of my video of my studio, which I had not planned on, but this is my new LA studio, which is not really set up much at all. So you can see where I've been filming some videos back there, and then I have some books here that I've been reading in preparation for my video on rayon. A while back I had posted um a poll on what type of fiber y'all wanted to learn about, and rayon was the winner. And so I've been doing all this reading on rayon for all of y'all. And yeah, just boxes of old clothes I want to upcycle. And then, wait, what's going on? Patterns, my lamp, books. That's my corner with all my books. This big black thing is a bookcase full of books. So the studio is still kind of in process, but that's what it looks like. So thanks for joining me today for my 10-year anniversary celebration live stream. And thank you for joining me on my channel over the years and supporting me. And even those of you who uh, did not buy anything like any of my mugs, my Practice Not Magic mugs, or anything like that. You still supported me a lot because I make ad revenue through my channel every time you watch a video. So I just appreciate every single one of you who have watched a video. Um, it's been a wild journey because I've never held a job as long as I have YouTube. I was at the university I was teaching at for 6, 7 years. It's all kind of a haze now. 6 years? Yeah. But I've been here for 10 years. And I guess now is a good time to announce that I'm making a big change. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I've been kind of dropping hints along the way about how I would like to get back to designing and starting my own brand again. And so I have done that. I and this is not like a thing I've been sitting on and working on behind the scenes at all. Like at all. By the way, before I continue, are y'all hearing me okay? Like, is the sound good? Okay, let me know in the chat. I literally, like, I was in the middle of Paris Tuesday. So it's been a week. No, wait. How long have I been back? But basically, it's been about 10 days since I started thinking about starting my own brand and everything. And so, yeah, I have people are like, "What's your brand name?" And I'm like, I don't know yet." And my girlfriend's like, "So are you going to do a clothing brand or a lifestyle brand?" And I told her, "Girl, a clothing brand. Nobody wants my lifestyle." She's so funny. And that's all I know so far. That's literally like the only thing I've really decided on is the fact that it's gonna be clothing and I'm gonna do this. And so I thought it would be fun to take you along with me. And I have actually started a new YouTube channel. I'm gonna drop the link in the comments, where in the chat and in the comments. Where is it? Do do do. It's called Operation Reentry. Why is there we go. So if you want to follow me along on my adventures in starting up my own brand and taking my own advice that I've been giving to everyone else, please subscribe to Operation Reentry, parentheses, into design. Okay. That's not going to be the name of the brand. I don't have a brand name yet. That's just all I think about is this project, is Operation Reentry. Um, I know it sounds vaguely militaristic, and I'm not like pro military or anything. I like aesthetically military inspired things. Like I have a big thing for uniforms, military uniforms in particular, but also work uniform. Anyway, Anyway, so I've really like thought of nothing but just like, am I going to do this? And so it's not going to be like educational where I'm teaching you along the way lessons where I have like these like scripted sort of things where, this is how you do something, or this is the list of reasons why you should do something like this. It's not going to be educational like that. Although I do hope that you will learn something from my experience. It's going to be more like stream of consciousness. This is where I am in my process right now. These are all the things that I'm thinking. And these are the things that are like all the things I haven't decided yet. I've really decided nothing. I'm thinking outerwear in terms of what I'm designing, but because it's just my favorite category to design. And if you're going to do something as difficult as starting your own company, you might as well start off with a product you love to design anyway. So, hi, Bridal Sewing. Everybody needs to follow Bridal Sewing. She just entered the chat. Bridal Sewing is, first of all, an excellent channel for anyone who's interested in working with fine fabrics. Okay. So, I mean, she is a bridal alterations expert. And so, when you talk about bridal alterations, you're not talking about like hemming something. Like, we're talking about when you hem something, like maybe there's a lot of intricate lace at the bottom. So it's not a matter of just hacking off a couple of inches at the bottom and just rolling it up and sewing it. Like, it requires more of an overhaul to like yank up the whole skirt, or like pull it up at the waist, or some other intricate flying buttressing, you know? And so she talks about all those things. So even if you're not interested in bridal specifically, but if you are interested in working with silks and other fine fabrics, she talks about working with lace and silks and, bridal stuff, of course. But she is a great channel. She also does some fun videos where she goes to a store and buys like a bunch of tools, and she just kind of tests them out to see if they work or not. I love those videos too, because I'm always like, what's this cool sewing tool? What's this tool? And then she'll be like, this did not work. And I'm like, dang it. Um, so y'all should follow Bridal Sewing on YouTube and on social media, whatever. But she's also been a good friend because she also has a successful YouTube channel. Like, she understands like all this stuff, like that we feel when we're going through channel stuff, and kind of the mental processes of running a channel, especially for so long, and all these things. So shout out to Bridal Sewing, and y'all should just follow her. Also, she just has this very lovely voice, and I could just, if she wanted to just recite the dictionary, just read it out loud, I would just play her in the background, so I would have just like this lovely voice reading the dictionary while I'm, how people have like music playing in the background while they're working. I could have like Bridal Sewing just like reading the dictionary in her lovely voice, which, I would absolutely play that. Just she's such a lovely narrator. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm starting this new brand. We'll see where it goes. And so one of the nice things about moving to LA is you get to attend fashion events that I just, without making a whole trip out of it. So Tex World is happening in next week. Tex World is a fabric and a sourcing trade show, and it's happening in LA, July 29th through the 31st. And I've never been, but it looks really cool. And there's no entrance fee or anything. So if you're in the LA, SoCal area, like I've had Patreon subscribers take the train up from San Diego for the day, and she and I went fabric shopping together with my Patreon group. So if you're in the SoCal area and you want to hit a textile trade show, check out Tex World. They're based in Munich, and they also have a show in New York. So if you see like Munich and New York and you're like, this is not it, like it's all in that family. Just look for the event that says this is the one that takes place in LA, and go register online, and uh, then attend and just run around and see what's going on. Um, and I also might go to Amsterdam in October to attend the Kingpins show, because I am a denim head. I'm wearing denim right now. I love denim. My brand might involve denim. I mean, it's my favorite fabric to work with, so I'm just making decisions on the fly. All right, so that's what's going on with me. I'm starting a new channel and a new brand. I'm going to Tex World next week. I've been eating my way through LA because LA has so much good food. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. So let me scroll through these comments to look for questions. All right. So do 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 bum 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 bum. Hello, hello. I want to decorate your background for you. Yeah, I am not good at interior decorating. Um my Everybody thinks like, "Oh, if you're artistic, you can do all artsy things." No. No. That's not true, and that's definitely not true of me. I think that I'm good at certain different kinds of artistic endeavors, but not like all artistic endeavors. Interior design has never been my strong suit. My old place just looked beautiful because the apartment itself was beautiful with, the brick walls and the 100-year-old floors and all that stuff. But let me tell you something about this new place, okay? Maybe it's not as aesthetically beautiful, but in practical matters, I love this apartment so much. Like, I love the faux concrete walls, and like I like the general look of it, but it's very quiet here. It's it's so quiet. I cannot hear my neighbors. If I have the windows closed, I cannot hear the outside. I had that traffic noise problem at my old place. And so for someone who records so much sound on a regular basis, a dream, a dream. I cannot hear my neighbors. The only reason I know I have one neighbor is because they were hammering for about 10 minutes, I guess hanging up some art in their house. But other than that, I have not heard them at all. Just like 10 minutes hammering something on the wall. And that's it. I love it. I love my new place in LA. I love being back in LA. I might change my mind when LA summer happens, which is August and September. But so far, really awesome. Oh, also in terms of the giveaway. So I've gotten a lot of comments on my giveaway announcement video, which is where you enter for the giveaway. I'm gonna put my husband in charge of that. He's gonna pick three. They have like randomizers and stuff online, and I'm gonna put him in charge of picking three random winners. So like my biases on people who comment a lot or whatever is just like completely uninvolved. So I will, once he picks the winners or the randomizer picks the winners, I'm going to comment back to the people being like, hey, email me. You're one of the winners. Woohoo. Okay. So that's going on with that. And then the sale is currently ongoing. 50% off everything at shop.zoehong.com. Go get your templates, stock up, their downloads. So you will not be receiving anything in the mail, but you will have PDF, JPEG files for you to download and reuse and reprint over and over and over again until the end of time. So everything is 50% off. Everything, everything, everything. Okay. So there's that. Judette is also she messaged me earlier. She's like, I also got a ridiculous fun hat to wear. So I was like, listen, I don't feel like doing my hair. Let's put a hat on. This hat is actually too heavy to wear like out the house. Like I cannot be like running around a trade show with this hat on because you see all these crystals? They are for real, for real. Like they are very heavy. And this hat will tip forward if I'm not careful. And I'm too much like a run around like a crazy person sort of person to be gently holding my head up super high and still the whole time. So, but I love this hat. I love this hat so much. Okay. Do, do, do. Okay. Bum, ba, bum. Regarding AMA, Zoe, I'm on the train to New York right now. Any must sees? I'm on my typical sourcing trip, but I'll have a little extra time. Let's see. Oh, I mean, it's hot in New York right now. Let me think. I mean, I do have a list of places I like to go eat. I know Functional Fabric Fair is happening in New York right now because one of my friends I met and made at the last functional messaged me uh, saying he was in New York for functional. I mean, if I were to go right now, I would go to the Met and see the Superfine, the black tailoring exhibit at the Met. And I always do a perusal of the local museums to see if they've been in cool fashion exhibits. Like FIT Museum generally has a cool fashion exhibit happening. And there's a museum in Brooklyn. Somebody tell me, like they also have some really cool exhibits. My favorite thing to do in New York when it's hot, which is all summer long, is at night. Uh, I like to take the ferry. I think it's the Staten Island ferry, you know, where you go all the way down to the southern tip of Manhattan. The ferry is free and it just goes to, I think, Staten Island and then back, and just stand on the deck and feel the breeze and cool down from the hot, sticky day. That's literally my favorite thing to do when I'm in New York, when it's warm, because I just feel like after just sweating around all day, you just, and you could do that a few times because it's free, but just go out there, stand on the deck, enjoy the breeze, take some pictures of the Manhattan skyline. It's very relaxing. Yeah. So I would hit the museums, I would hit the ferry. I mean, generally, my favorite thing to do in New York is to just pick a neighborhood and start walking and then just like walk into random stores and be like, what's this? What's this? I am I think I am going to New York in September. I want to work New York Fashion Week. I have a girlfriend who's doing Backstage at ASAP Rocky's show, and she wants me to come help her. I have a former university student who is showing at New York Fashion Week. She's been showing for a couple years now. Her stuff is really cool. So I want to ping her and see if I can get a ticket to go attend her show because I think her work is really, like, she's always been a good student. And I wrote a letter of recommendation for her like years ago. Like she's a good student and I'm really excited to see her work. Magic is happening, like Coterie, Magic, and Designers and Agents. They're all happening at that same time. And while those are not sourcing trade shows, I do want to see and maybe show people on this channel what it's like to attend that kind of trade show where designers are the vendors, like the designers set up the booths so that wholesale buyers can come and check out their samples for the upcoming season. And so if you guys have any interest in sending me to New York for that, let me know in the comments to the recording or here in the chat. Because I think that would be really cool. Like Coterie and Designers and Agents and Magic, they're all kind of happening at the same time, and they have different audiences, you know? Um, I used to work for a brand who showed at Coterie, and it was women's contemporary. It was very pretty. Uh, Designers and Agents, I think, is a little bit cool, like a little bit more hip. And Magic is kind of like a catch-all because it's like the real big one. That's what it used to be pre-COVID. Like during COVID, all the trade shows shut down. And then like as the trade shows were trying to like ramp back up after COVID and try to come back, resuscitate back to its former glory in the face of all this online shopping and direct to consumer, like the growth spurt of direct to consumer brands, like things have shifted and changed. And I would like to go see how different things are now. I mean, Magic has always been like one of the huge shows, but word on the street is that it's not as big as it used to be. Um, I know Magic in Vegas is happening the 3rd week of August. And I don't know if I have the wherewithal to do that many trips in listen, when I was in my 30s, when I was a spring chicken, once a month, boom, 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 I'd be out somewhere, but once a month trip now feels unless it's like a little weekend trip, like that feels like a lot, just like a lot of energy draining. And I do want to go to Amsterdam. So, yeah, 10 years of sowing goatness, thank you. Um, let's see. Quiet is worth gold. Quiet is worth gold, says the fellow YouTuber. Girl, you know. You know. Where would you recommend doing an internship as a handmade designer? Okay, I don't know what a handmade designer is. I'm assuming your products are handmade, but to what level and what kind of products? I mean, if you that's that's a very kind of vague question, and it really depends on what area you want to improve upon, you know? Here's the thing, a lot of internships, you don't get to do a lot of hands-on training anyway, which is real different from like an old school apprenticeship. Like maybe an old school apprenticeship, they give you like the easy jobs, but are still like doing some things. And I mean, one of the first internships I had in college, I made a lot of markers by hand. Back then, we were all making hand markers and markers in the industry, not the pens, but that's when you take all your pattern pieces for a garment and you draw them out the way they would be on a piece of fabric. So you have to know the width of the fabric and then you have to make sure all the grain lines are matched up. You can't just like puzzle piece them. You have to make sure that the grain lines of all your pattern pieces are going along the grain. And then you are minimizing fabric waste as much as possible by fitting your pattern pieces together. And that company learned I was really good at that. I love a puzzle. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I love a jigsaw. So I was doing that a lot. But ideally, what you want to do is to try to find an internship. Probably, I would guess the smaller the company, the more hands on stuff you get to do and not necessarily fetch coffee all summer, you know? So smaller companies and then companies where you can learn something that directly applies to your short term goals. Like if you want to get better at making bags, look at bag manufacturers. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a design house. Okay. Like, yeah, you can learn a lot in any place. But I also think that you can look definitely at factories where they're making the stuff. Even if you later on have no interest in making stuff, y'all know, I'm always saying this, knowing construction, understanding how you make things helps you become a better designer, period. So that's where I would go. Congratulations on 10 years. Any tips for small brands, designers focus on small batch, D2C handmade? My tips for, I mean, nothing you do can be replicated or is replicated by anyone else. Do not try, and this is kind of what I'm doing with my brand right now, is because there are so many things that I enjoy designing, like creatively. And as you know, whenever I do design demos, I'm like all over the place. I sketch menswear, women's wear, children's wear. If you bought my book, Fashion School in a Book, you know that I've given examples of like all different kinds of aesthetics, girly things, tomboy things, menswear. But you have to really think what's in the market, what's missing in the market, and what you can offer them. Because when you're doing small batch, your stuff is going to be more expensive, period. That's just a reality. Okay. You just do not get volume discounts on anything. And so, in order for people to find it worth it to spend the money, you have to make sure that your stuff is just truly special, like just elevated and different design, quality, like everything. And so make sure that your product is really special and unique. And maybe that means you're making it for a particular subsect of the population that is underserved. And then they will be our first customers. There's this thing, I forget where I saw it, but there's this comic. Okay. Not one of the ha ha funny comics, but one of those like kind of observational comics that like really rings true across the board. It was basically they're in front of a school or a building, and there was a huge and heavy snowfall. Okay. And there were stairs going up to the building, and then there was a ramp, like a wheelchair ramp going to the same building, both going to the same main entrance. And there are these guys out there with these shovels shoveling snow. And the caption said something like, if you shovel the ramp, everyone can go. But if you shovel only the stairs, then only the people who can climb stairs can go. Like anybody can walk up a ramp or wheel themselves in a chair up a ramp or use a walker, usually on wheels, up a ramp. But so if you cater to like a very specific need for something, everyone, like other people can become your customer later. If you create something that is special for a specific customer, like you've got that customer, you know? And let me tell you, there's two markets right now where you can really make money, and that is interesting plus size that doesn't look like Lane Bryant or Torrid, and adaptive apparel for people who have any kind of disability. So you really need to come up with something unique that you can't find anywhere else. Hmm, do some military inspired wool with soutache. Mm, what inspires you every day? You are assuming I get inspired every day, but I am a normal person who have days that I don't feel like doing anything, and I definitely have days where I don't do anything. Okay, I'm gonna admit something, and listen, this might be controversial. I don't know, but I'm just gonna say it. People doing mediocre shit and making money off of it inspires me. Okay, and because when people do really beautiful things, like I just admire them. When I was in Paris, I went to the Rick Owens exhibit at the Palais Galliera. It was beautiful. I'm a big fan. I'm a fan of Rick Owens' work. He started his career in LA, was here for a dozen years, and then he got a job with Revlon in Paris, and so he moved to Paris, and then he, expanded his own line, and his work is beautiful, and, I've always loved working with leather, and he loves working with leather, and just I love his stuff. Um, I did not leave feeling inspired because that's not really what gets me going. I left feeling like, wow, his work is freaking beautiful. I'm so glad I got to see so much stuff up close, to be able to see these textures that you really can't see in a runway presentation, like really like come up and personal to these textures, to these techniques. Like, what a great exhibit. Like, I walked away feeling like that. So, if you're in Paris or get to go to Paris easily, like, go check out that exhibit. It was wonderful, but it wasn't like, oh, now I want to create all this stuff. And I don't know, maybe this makes me a petty bitch, but I was just like, when I see mediocre stuff and I know they've built a really successful business about it, I'm like, I could do this. Is that awful? Is that awful? Maybe it's awful. But yeah, I just, like, I could do a thing. If they can do it, I could do it. Like, I have that kind of mentality. Uh I posted on Threads the other day that I've been feeling extremely cynical about the fashion industry and how it requires money. So, it requires a lot of money. So, that's just kinda where I am mentally right now. So, uh, boop, boop, boop. This thing just likes to scroll by itself, and then I have to go find where I was all over again. In terms of starting your own brand, I know you've talked a lot about starting your own clothing brand, but do you have any good advice for starting a jewelry brand? Not really. I've never worked in jewelry, so I do not have jewelry specific advice. I know the jewelry industry has their own way of doing things. They have their own trade shows, you know. Uh the woman who hired me to attend Functional Fabric Fair back in April, she does a lot of jewelry shows. And so I know that they have their own trade shows. And, she's like talking about how she gets to see some of the most beautiful stuff and she gets to buy some really great samples and stuff like that. But I think that at the end of the day, all design, this is how I feel about things in general. Art asks questions and design answers questions. Your any kind of design work should solve a problem, should answer a question. And so that's why there's a difference between fashion art and fashion design to me. And I think that the way you approach brand development for jewelry will be the same as for clothing, because you think about your customer, what they're looking for, what they don't have, what's out in the market, and what is missing from the market, and what unique thing you can offer the people that you want to dress. And then you start thinking about what materials are available to you. Can your skills match up to the designs that you want to create? Sourcing, that kind of thing. I don't think there's a huge difference in that kind of general approach. It's just that, of course, the materials and designs are going to be different. The trade shows are going to be different because, like, all categories of things have different trade shows, and like even where you get your news, I know there are different publications that cater to shoes and accessories, whereas some other publications cater to clothing news or, like a while back, I did a newsletter entry where I listed just like a big list of publications you can skim to keep up with the industry news. And they all target different things, different demographics. And so what I'm saying is literally every business is concerned with catering, like defining their demographic and what they're looking for, and to give them what they're looking for. So, yeah. How would you schedule your time while you are designing? Girl, that's too organ with scheduling time. I'm too chaotic for that. This is why earlier when I said my girlfriend Dana was like, "Are you gonna do a clothing brand or a lifestyle brand?" And I said, "Nobody wants this lifestyle." I'm not that organized. Okay. I have ADHD. I am in perimenopause. I am not that organized. I run on deadlines and feelings and energy. Uh yeah. I try to do as much as I can, and when I have the energy, I'm like, "Okay, what is the most use of my time?" I make a lot of lists of things I need to get done. I do. I make a lot of lists. I enjoy writing things down. For me, the tactile writing things down, like, really helps me, like, remember things. That's just me personally. So, I make a lot of lists, a lot of calendars, a lot of to-do lists, that sort of thing. Da, 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 da. Wait, this thing. You work in New York Fashion Week? I wanna do New York Fashion Week some year. New York Bridal Fashion Week. It always manages to hit at the wrong time, but I have a standing press invite from a designer. I need to redeem it someday. You need to go. It's a good time. And if you can get backstage access, that's even better. That's for me, that's the fun part. Okay. I still have to put together my Paris video, but I went to one show where I was in the audience and one show where I was working backstage. And trust me, I had very good seats at the Stefan Roland show. I was second row. I had very good seats. And I still preferred working backstage. It's just my home. That's just me though. Um, just personally. Yes, I would love any trade show content you want to share. Congratulations. What would be the most absorbent for sweatshirt fabric, most premium, of course? It's not about the fabric, it's about the fiber and whether it has any moisture wicking properties. So, you're going to want to go for either natural fibers like cotton or wool. Wool is an underrated fiber. Um, and or if you're going man-made, you want to get into something that is a performance fabric that has moisture wicking technology. If you watch my video that from with Functional Fair Fabric Fair coverage, I interviewed a company that does this thing called Turbo Dry, where they create moisture wicking through the actual knitting process so that they don't need to use any sort of special chemicals or coatings on the fabric to create the moisture wicking. And to that end, they could basically essentially use any fiber to knit their fabric. And they partner with other suppliers, with the yarns to create these knits. And they supply a lot of performance fabrics for Victoria's Secret, among others. So, yeah, you basically want to research your moisture wicking materials. So, do you recommend any channel or book for leather handbag construction? What's the process for drawing handbag sketches? Do I need figures? You don't need figures for handbag sketches unless you want to do a few that show scale, where, I mean, like that's something that I would do, which is to have the person hold the bag. And I wouldn't even draw the person necessarily in terms of like a working sketch. Like I would use my own croquis figures, and so the background figure is there, and I would draw the handbag in the person's hand so people can see the scale of the bag to the human body, but you don't have to, like, I wouldn't draw any hair or facial features or anything. Like, I might do, like, a really quick sketch of their outfit, like, depending on kind of who you're pitching. Like if you're doing like, this is your everyday work tote, all the girls going with to their back to their office jobs want to carry this. So maybe you sketch like a very basic button down shirt and trousers or something to kind of show like this is a work tote or something like that, right? Or this is a clutch that you wear with evening wear. And so you're like, you've got this tiny, cute little clutch. She's wearing a little cocktail dress, something that kind of fits the vibe, but it's not really like the most important thing. Um, for leather handbag construction, I would follow, what's his name? Tanner Leatherstein. There's this guy on TikTok, and I'm sure he's on other social media too, but I see him on TikTok the most, where he takes apart bags. Um, he takes apart designer bags, mid-price bags, vintage bags, and he analyzes the quality. And it's always like, uh, is this Coach bag worth the price? And then he just starts ripping up the bag and shredding the surface and popping the seams. And they're very fascinating. I'm sure it's a very expensive channel to run. But yeah, I mean, that's the appeal is like he's really taking them apart and analyzing the leather and the kinds of coatings it has and stuff like that. You know, me, I've always personally preferred a full grain leather, like where you can actually see the texture of the hide. I don't really just personally do not like the kind of leather that's been finished with like so much coating that it just almost looks plasticky and it's like very hard, but that's kind of what you need for a hard shell bag often. But yeah, that's a really good one to follow because he really is like he kind of also breaks down the cost. Like this kind of leather, I think would be this many dollars per square foot because you know leather comes in square footage and not necessarily yards or meters. And you know, so he kind of breaks it down. Like I would say that the labor involved in making a bag like this would be this much. This uses this many square feet of leather. And so this would be this much dollars worth of leather. So I think that this price actually matches uh the what the brand is asking for. So I think that's a really good one to watch. So it's not really necessarily about design, but really about how well it's constructed, things like that. And for me, I am on handbag TikTok. Um, just because I'm in the market for one. I actually recently got an everyday handbag that I was looking for. But just listening and reading all the commentary of people talking about their handbags, why they love them and why it doesn't work for them, and start kind of like thinking like the way consumers do, you know? I was doing this event, with Fendi, and I'm under NDA, so I can't say what kind of event I was doing, but I was doing this event with Fendi, and one of the sales associates was like, "Zoe, what's your dream bag?" And at that moment, I was like, "The Loewe elephant bag." Listen, if you follow me, you know I love the Loewe elephant bag, but you cannot tell a Fendi person that your dream bag is a Loewe bag. So I was like, actually, I'm in the market for a tote bag that's not super heavy. Like, you know how a lot of some bags, the bag even empty is heavy because it's got this heavy ass like flap and everything is so heavy and there's got so many pockets and layers of leather, like the whole bag itself is heavy before you put anything in it. Like I wanted a tote bag that wasn't heavy so I could put stuff in it. And, so I was kind of rattling on about that because I was trying to stop myself from saying, "No, what I really want is the Loewe elephant bag, the orange one with the little punk rock piercing." Um, so yeah, if you're watching this, sorry, I was trying to trying to be nice and diplomatic. I do like Fendi as a brand in general. Uh, so I mean, I had a Fendi knockoff when I was 19, so Uh, do you have any recommendations for making accessible clothing, not just for myself, but so I can make a brand with that as the focus? I would interview people. Like, listen, not all. disabilities are created equal. So even in that, you need to focus on a specific category. Like, what kind of disability are you going to address? Are you trying to make clothes for people who use wheelchairs? Are you trying to make clothes for people who have less agile hands? So you cannot do anything with like tiny fiddly buttons, that sort of thing. So you're talking about making more accessible closures, things that are easy to pull on. Are you talking about things people need during surgery recovery? Like, there's a whole category of garments like that, like t-shirts that you can pull on and kind of snap on the side for people who cannot lift their arms and pull a t-shirt over their head. There's so many categories within adaptive apparel that you can address. And so kind of pick a category you want to start with and start thinking about, you could talk to people. Like, I talked to a girlfriend who like uses a wheelchair fairly regularly. Um, and she spends some time, like a little bit of time on a walker, but most of her time in a wheelchair. And so we've had conversations about what she's looking for in terms of her clothing. So I would talk to those kinds of people, like the people that you're trying to dress. And also think about, like, when you're getting dressed, like, try to figure it out yourself. Like, if you were paralyzed from the waist down, how would you put pants on? And what would make things easier for you to put pants on? And, like, try to put yourself in their shoes. If if you're not already in those shoes. So, hi from Amsterdam. Congratulations on your tenure. I'm a retired ceramics teacher. Just wanted to let you know I really enjoy your content. Listen, there's a ceramic studio 3 blocks from me, and they teach these, like, cool little workshops. You can just go in for a few hours and learn how to throw a pot, and I think about it all the time. It looks super fun. I took a pottery class when I was 15, so I haven't thrown a pot in 30 years, but it looks really cool. I admire ceramics artists so much 'cause it looks so cool. Clothing that is easily put on and taken off by people who have disabilities is a great need in the clothing industry. Yeah, and it's another one of those things where when you shovel the snow off the ramp, everyone can go up the ramp. Okay, so most of you know that my husband was in a terrible car accident and he was in a wheelchair for a little while. And then he was on a walker. Now he's walking independently, but he did go through that phase where he was dependent on tools and he couldn't, like, bend down and tie his own shoelaces and things like that. And so I was looking for shoes where you could just slip them on without dealing with the lacing and everything. But he's a sneaker guy. Like, he's not a guy who wears loafers. So I found this brand called Kizik. Okay. And Kizik, they make sneakers and other kinds of shoes now, but Kizik started by creating a slip-on shoe for people who either could not bend over and deal with your shoelaces and everything, or did not want to. It was just more difficult for them. And so they're a sneaker where they're designed so that you can just slip them on. And my husband's on his second or third pair of Kiziks. I even bought a pair for my bestie just because they were cute, whatever. And they have blown up. Their business has blown up in a major way. And the people who buy those shoes now, they're not all just people who have a difficult time bending over to put shoes on. They're just cute. They're cute. So they started off by addressing this group of people, but the shoes are cute. They're cute sneakers. And so now lots of people just buy them. And a lot of people don't even know that that was the original purpose of the shoes. But I got that recommendation from one of the physical therapists at one of the hospitals where my husband was at. She was like, "Have you heard of Kizik? You should check them out. They're kind of cool." So I did. Like, I looked online and so I ordered him a pair. Um, and they're comfortable. Like, he wears them a ton. He wore out the first pair. Like, he wore them out. And then now we bought a different style, a new pair. How can upcycle designer have a heart item? Okay, I don't understand your question, so please rephrase. Um, I fell in love with since I was 14. I know. Like I have an average bracket for who my audience is, but it always cracks me up when someone's like really young. But I've been here for 10 years, so I've designed for a fast fashion brand for 5 plus years and want to move into more sustainable high-end fashion. Will my fast fashion background hurt my chances? I mean, not by itself. It is hard to move categories um because you might have to like m- take a step back as opposed to making a lateral move um in terms of like ranking, assistant designer, associate designer, designer, senior designer, things like that. Um but it's going to be a matter of putting together the right portfolio because portfolio speaks volumes. Like they'll look at your resume for your ability to draw flats well, lead projects, you know, have job stability so you're not bouncing from job to job every 3 months, things like that. But your portfolio and something you can do with your portfolio is kind of make sure that you are creating projects for your intended new customer base and really show that you are understanding this new customer base so that it's not just like a random collection of women's wear, but just like a very specific. And you can have a couple of boards in the beginning discussing methods of sustainability used in this particular collection and how they resonate with this particular customer and your understanding of price point and sourcing for this price point. And so you're saying like, I have all this design background, but I also understand this market and I'm bringing them together in these portfolio projects. Hello to Portugal. Hello, hello. Thank you, thank you. That's totally me chaotic. Listen, here's the thing is my mind is chaotic. I like things keeping things fairly neat. Like, you know, I'm a fairly like tidy-ish person. I cannot do a lot of good work when like stuff is everywhere, but because my brain is already chaotic enough. All right. um Hi Zoe, for a handbag collection, jewelry collection I've designed, which tool or company would you recommend to connect with suppliers for execution? I do not know. That is not my area of expertise. Mm, yes, Turbo Dry. I really want to pursue the haute couture area. In your vision, what are the most important steps for someone to get a job in that environment? Any content or recommendations? I don't have any content recommendations. Like people are not the people that post about haute couture are generally influencers who attend the shows and like review the shows and just talk about how they had a good time at a show. When I went to Stephen Roland, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Not gonna lie, I got really irritated and really jaded about influencers. And I understand that a lot of people would also call me an influencer, but there's a specific kind of influencer. Like I was very excited to go to Stefan Roland because the clothes. Like I wanted to see the clothes. And when they invited me out of the blue, I was like, holy crap, this is very cool. I want to see these clothes. And I actually reached out to them afterwards, asking if they were going to host a receipt so I can go and look at the clothes up close. But I was there and like there was of course, people were taking selfies and networking and mingling and everything before the show. Like, that's what you do, right? But then, like, at the end of the show, the models and the designer and there was an orchestra and there's the orchestra conductor and the bride. They were all still like walking down the runway when everyone got up and just started dispersing and taking selfies. And I wanted to watch the procession. I wanted to watch the final procession because it was obvious that the whole show was carefully choreographed and I wanted to see the procession. And I, in my most Asian auntiness, my middle-aged Asian aunt behavior, I wanted to yell at everyone to sit down so we could finish watching the show. I wanted to finish watching the show. I wanted to watch the final procession, the last bit of choreography, the back views of all these crazy ass gowns. Like, I wanted to enjoy that. I'm like, your selfies can wait 30 seconds. Oh my God, just shut up and sit down. But yeah, that's just me, I guess. So I'm just sitting there and I was taking video footage of the whole thing, but like everyone got in the way because everyone started standing up and yeah. Work backstage at shows. That's how you get to know people, okay? Like, y'all know that I'm very anti unpaid internships because it's usually these huge brands that have millions of dollars at their disposal who cannot scrounge up a few grand to pay their interns. And then the only people who end up getting internships and furthering their career are the people who have parents that are wealthy enough to support them during internships. And so the people who probably need the internships more do not get to have the internships. So I'm very anti unpaid internships. However, volunteering to work backstage at a fashion show for like 1 or 2 days generally will not impede you from paying your bills because it's just like a one-time thing, right? It's not like consistently you need to be somewhere for 20 hours a week so that it stops you from getting a job anywhere else, right? So I do encourage people to volunteer at like shows where they need extra hands, learn how to dress models. Like when I was working backstage at Rahul Mishra, they brought in a team from India. So Rahul Mishra's based in India, and he comes up to Paris to show anytime he does runway work, and he brings a team of like, I want to say a dozen people from his office in India. And then on the day of and they're working that weekend to do like final model fittings and castings and, final alterations to make sure that all the gowns are fitting the models precisely, like small adjustments and things like that. And then the day of the show, another team of like, I want to say like 8 dressers show up to the show to help tie all these corsets and, all these things, especially at the couture level. These pieces tend to be difficult to get dressed in. It's not like a shirt and pants, you know. It's elaborate 40-pound gowns with like corseting. And, if you're familiar with Rahul Rich's work, he also does these huge installations where he's got like blooming flowers sticking out from the back of a dress and stuff like that. And so you really have to help models like get in these kinds of garments. So get into those spaces where you can volunteer and network and keep getting invited to work these events and eventually work your way into an internship. Hmm. Thank you. This is my favorite hat. I love this hat a lot. Uh, Sending love from Atlanta. Hello, Atlanta. Can you believe I've never been to Atlanta? I feel like it's like a big enough city that I should have visited at some point. Just realized how old you are. Yeah, I'm 45. I'm 45. I'm turning 46 this year. So, yeah, good times. Oh, we're at the hour mark. Okay. Hey, Zoe, I'm interested in studying fashion design. Could you please share which area or specialization in fashion do you think would be the best future opportunities? I really enjoy doing illustrations and art. Okay. So, fashion illustration, I don't think has much of a future because illustration comes and goes in waves. And illustration is one of those categories where, unless you're one of the select few, you're not going to it's not like, if you're thinking about it in terms of what has the best like chances for a successful career, illustration, I mean, you really have to be the best of the best. And not just the best of the best at marketing, marketing yourself. There are plenty of illustrators out there who make a good living because they are conventionally attractive, good at networking, have a PR team, and are in the right place at the right time. And does that sound petty? Kind a little bit, but it's reality. Like there are some people who are really good illustrators who just never get to shine because they just don't know how to network. They just, you know, and then there are people who are kind of mediocre, but they know the right people. They got the right opportunity. Their parents supported them with rent money until they were able to get on their feet. So they were able to devote a lot of time into their art, whatever. So, you know, right now you kind of have to think about where AI is headed and what jobs are more AI proof. And honestly, it used to be tech design, but someone hit me up the other day asking me how I felt about AI tech packs and if I would be interested in doing a collab with them, discussing their company doing AI tech packs. And I was like, I'm curious, but I don't like, hmm. So I would encourage you to read up on AI in the fashion industry and what AI cannot do and pursue that direction. Like I made a video on AI before and I had predicted that everyday models were going to be out of work because in modeling you're either a superstar and like your face and your presence on the runway and in advertising and stuff is so grand that you still get the jobs. But if you're any kind of like lookbook model, catalog model, kind of like everyday clothing model, those jobs are going to be dried up because you've already heard of big companies using AI imaging to replace human models. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So, um, if you are entering design, you have to learn how to make things. I've always said you need to know how to make things, but it's even more important now to distinguish yourself from like AI, people who rely too heavily on AI, which is not the same as learning 3D tools. Okay. Learning how to do like imaging and renderings in like Clo 3D is not AI. That actually is a tool and imaging that has been created by humans to test designs before they get turned into fabric iterations. That's different. Okay. Hero item. Okay. That should have read hero. How can an upcycling brand have a hero item? It's funny because I was talking to a fashion girlfriend of mine the other day about how it is hard to get into an upcycling brand because the sourcing is a problem because it's always going to be inconsistent because the source of your products are always going to change. So if you want to have a hero item, it would have to be for one more of like a category and not a particular item. Uh, or it would have to be around a product that you can get all the time. Like for example, oh man, so I went to the Los Feliz flea market the other day because I need some furniture for my house, namely nightstands, but also some bookends. And I want to go to flea market and buy some like, some secondhand bookends or something like that, right? First of all, Los Feliz Flea does not have anything that's not clothes and accessories. Like it's just all clothes and accessories. And second of all, there are just so many t-shirts, just ugly, raggedy ass t-shirts from there's just too many t-shirts. I swear to God, anytime I'm on threads and something happens, somebody's like, you got to make a t-shirt about that. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Like normalize enjoying something without turning it into a t-shirt. Okay. And I understand the appeal of some kinds of t-shirts, like band shirts, like you're kind of commemorating this really cool event that you went to. One time, a friend in Minnesota, she not my sister, I know she lives in Minnesota, but I have a friend in Minnesota who showed me this T-shirt, and they have all this fair food, Minnesota State Fair food, and food on sticks. And there was this whole list on the back of the T-shirt that listed all the food on sticks that you check off as you try these foods. There are some fun T-shirts out there, and I do have some fun T-shirts. Don't get me wrong, but like, there's just so many crappy T-shirts, just terrible, crappy, low quality, useless, ugly T-shirts that should never have been made at all. Am I getting irritated? I'm getting irritated. So there will never, unfortunately, be an end to these freaking ugly, useless, worn twice, washed poorly, fallen apart T-shirts. There are so many booths at that flea market where people are just selling dozens of these ugly T-shirts for like $3. I'm like, oh, I didn't come here for this. Like, first of all, I didn't go there to shop for clothes, but even if I didn't, if I saw something cute, I would check it out. But it was like, it's just so many T-shirts. So you could target a category like that where it's just, what do you do with a million ugly T-shirts? There was this one episode of Queer Eye like years ago where um this dude had uh his father had died, and he was holding on to all of his father's clothes because he just felt terrible about throwing them away, which is kind of understandable. Like, when you're grieving, you don't want to let go of the things that your loved one owned. And I think it was Bobby because he does the interiors. He made a quilt that took like the design part of each t-shirt as like a patch in the quilt. So he took all these shirts that the guy's father had and turned them each into a quilt patch. And he hung it on the wall. Like, you know how a lot of people like will hang a decorative quilt on the wall? Like, he did it like that. I thought that was so cool. Then he doesn't have to throw away these shirts, and he has something to remember his father by. But it's like didn't get like it's not like taking up a whole closet just like with his dad's old clothes just sitting there. And I was actually telling my friend this. I'm like, how cool would it be if there was a company who could do that, where it's like, I have all these band t-shirts and these memories are important to me, but I just have too many stupid t-shirts. Or I went through a Disney adult phase and I have all these Disney t-shirts, and can you make them into a quilt? Like, I don't know. So I think you just kind of have to pick like a category where your source material is just going to always be plentiful. I want to make prom dresses, formal dresses that are way easier to put on and take off and works with mobility aids. So I'll definitely try to get a lot of feedback for my ideas. Love it. Okay. From the time I started watching you, I had no studio or design process. Now I'm sitting in my studio in front of a sewing machine, sewing my first line, third revision. Congratulations. Good for you. Why is it so hard to find people to make samples from random patterns without tech packs? Yeah, nobody wants to do that, because how are you going to tell people to do something without instructions? Make the tech pack. Sorry, but the fault is on you. Like, you have to give them some kind of instructions on how to make something, because they're not going to waste their time trying to make something, and then you're going to be like, you did it wrong, and then they're going to be like, well, you didn't give me instructions, so I had to make my way through this. So make the tech pack, man. I actually don't know your gender. Whatever. Hi, Zoe. Does making our self brand need to be learned to sewing, or can we just make a design from that? Okay, I've answered this a million different times, but you need to understand construction. You don't necessarily need to know how to sew beautifully. Like, you need to know the different kinds of hems that you should be using for your clothes, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the one sewing those hems. But you have to know, like, okay, well, this kinds of pants, like jeans get this kind of hem, And, business trousers get these kinds of hems, and you can do a blind stitch hem by hand. You can do it by these kinds of machine. Like, you need to know the construction, but you don't necessarily need to know how to sew it yourself. It's funny how fashion design influencers are more from the fashion consumer or stylist side. The algorithm doesn't get it. Well, I mean, a lot of people, they're not really interested in making fashion. They just want to see the fashion and they want to see their influencer at these shows. So it's like a whole different thing that I'm not particularly interested in. I do enjoy the influencers who give some interesting and thoughtful critique. Um, I'm not particularly interested in people who just take selfies of themselves at shows and be like, "I went to the show." I'm like, "Good for you." If you wanna build something here in Paris, I'm willing to be your ultimate assistant. Girl, Martina, you cannot even find me at the Louvre despite several DMs, okay? So first of all, work on your sense of direction. I can't believe we missed each other, like, I'm a product designer with my own brand of waterproof handmade bags and backpacks in Costa Rica. I have learned so much from you. Thank you. You're welcome. And good luck with your brand. I'm late. I was in therapy. Listen, that is a good reason to be late. I'm 44. Is it too late to start? Listen, I have too many posts that say it's only too late when you're dead. I'm 45 and I'm starting my brand now. So, okay. I really understand what you mean. Nowadays, a lot of people don't really care about the clothes and the performance on the fashion shows and worried more about telling people they were there. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Hi, Zoe. I'm a new designer trying to teach myself the basics of fashion before I look to have school in Manhattan within the next few years. I have some basic skills, but need advice on where to start. I mean, if you are sure that you want to go to school in Manhattan, I would look up the schools that I want to attend, look into their portfolio requirements, and see what skills I personally need to improve to create the kind of portfolio that would get me accepted into those schools. Okay. Mm. I have embraced AI because I learned how to sew, looking to automate the entire business to and keep a creative day job, one for security, other for creativity. Good for you. Yeah, of course, it's only too late when you're gone, not to be grim, but it's good to try anything when you're able to. There's this rule like, I just, all jokes aside, I just don't think mid 40s is too that old. I make jokes all the time about how old I am. I am aware, but they are jokes, okay? Like the average retirement age is 68 in this country, in the US, where I'm currently living. And that's pretty average and standard. Like late 60s is pretty average in terms of retirement age for a lot of countries. You still have 20 something years to make something cool. That's what I'm depending on. I mean, if you don't start now, like, what are you gonna do? Like, stay at your dead end job for another 20 years? Oh my god, do you know all you could be doing in 20 years? Like, get out of here. I have people who are 29 years old who ask me if it's too late. I'm like, I cannot handle this. Ooh. What other professional high quality sewing fashion related suppliers? I just know Wawak. I don't know. That's not my sourcing area. I don't really know the whole like open to retail stuff. Chipotle makes those upcycle skirts that sell pretty well for them. Listen, I'm a big fan of Chipotle and I like their aesthetic, but also because they back up my teachings indirectly, like, they don't know me, or anything like that. But just I'm always telling people, especially people who do not have a fashion background, to concentrate on one item category and do it well. Like, start with just, like, a few of a single item category, do it well, build your reputation on being able to do this thing really well, and then expand organically, okay? And that's what they did. They started with those kilts, and now they have a full line, and they are hot ticket item, like, their shows, like, they're hot shit, love them. And it also supports my thesis that you wanna build your reputation on doing one thing really well as opposed to doing a lot of things very mediocrely, okay? So, yeah, that's a case study right there. And they're just cool. Their stuff is so cool. I love it. I would love a kilt from them. Okay, lots of nice comments. Thank you, thank you. Clothing with sun protection properties is needed. They exist. I think they're called UPF clothing, but I think they only last up to a certain number of wears. So, sorry for the boring on the same topic of haute couture. What skills should I improve in the field to stand out from others and increase my chances of getting an internship? Listen, at that level, when you're like at that volunteer internship, like sort of level, the only way you really stand out is hustle. Okay. And so I was working the Rahu Mishra show, and there were lots of dressers and people working and stuff. And, I came on board, and one of the, I wasn't one of your standard dressers. Shirley gave me a certain level of autonomy because she knows what I'm capable of. I make ball gowns from scratch. I know a lot more than your average intern. And so she gave me a lot more leeway. And after looking at some of the dresses, I told her I wanted to fix the corset lacing. And so she told me to go do that because she knows I know all about it. And so I was back there, and I grabbed some of the dressers, and I was like, okay, we need to fix the corset lacing. And if we do it this way, they're going to be much more stable. They're going to be able to hold the weight better. And they're not going to like jiggle on the bodies when the models are walking down the runway. And so I'm working with this team, and like the whole week, like for 12 hours on Sunday, 4 hours on Monday, all that sort of thing. And I actually gave my business card to one intern because she was the most proactive. She was thoughtful. She worked like you never saw her sit down unless she actually had something in her lap where she was working on something. She was just on the go the whole time, just working relentlessly. And there are some people where they look like a chicken with their head chopped off. They want to look like they are working hard, but they are not really doing anything. And I can spot them a mile away. A lot of people can. But no, she was like actively working. And it's not like she was working so fast. Like that's not it. But she was consistently just like, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. And then I would be like, where are you with this? And she's like, I've done these many dresses, and it's not like, oh my God, you work so fast, but it's just like just consistently just at it. And, not doing dumb stuff, asking questions when she was stuck instead of ruining a dress, like just, but it was just her work ethic and consistency and her just kind of general competence of being in that atmosphere, her professionalism like really stood out. And so I told her, I was like, listen, if you ever need a reference for a job, I'm your girl. I was very impressed with you this weekend. That's what really stood out to me. I mean, I got along with a lot of the people there. They were a good team, but she really stood out in that way. So when it comes to like talent or skill, like you're not going to impress anyone at that level. Okay, you kind of have to get to a point where they care about your opinion on things. That sounds rude, but it is what it is. Most people do not care what interns think in terms of like the style or like any of those kinds of decisions, but they will see your hustle. They will. They'll see your hustle, they'll see your professionalism, they'll see how you work well with the team, they'll see how you show up on time. Like they'll see those things and they'll keep you around and they'll hire you again or they'll ask for you to come back. And then if you're lucky, you get to a point where they'll ask you your opinion on things. That's such a good idea. I did a quilt with my kids' band shirts. Yes. I think it's really cool to do this kind of thing. I have a black t-shirt with simply Mariah on it in simple white block letters. That's always legitimate. Yeah, like I love a band shirt. My favorite t-shirt is a spam t-shirt. Like, my Korean is showing, but it's the spam, like, the food spam. It's a navy blue t-shirt with the golden yellow letters spam in that logo, the spam logo. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. So it's not like I don't wear t-shirts. I just don't own like 60 ratty and I don't buy a t-shirt uh all the time. People ask for merch, like t-shirt merch that has like my zoisms and stuff. I'm like, no, we don't need that. Mugs you'll use until it breaks. Okay? Like I sell these and you'll use them till they break. I have a practice not magic. I have a fuck your ducks. Okay? If you know, you know. If you watch that video with the ducks, you know. Cuz you can use these until you die, it dies, whatever. By the way, I'm back to drinking caffeine. I listen, my beautiful children, I tried. I tried so hard. But I can only be so sleepy and groggy for so long. I'm back to drinking coffee. I still don't drink as much as I used to, but oh my God, it was like the worst 3 months of my life. I'm being dramatic, obviously. I have lived through worse, but like, oh my God. So I am back to drinking coffee. I tried. I tried. Somebody said when I initially announced that I was quitting caffeine, somebody said, "Well, you're gonna have to change your avatar now if you're not drinking coffee because you're drinking coffee in your avatar." And I was like, "Oh, but I'm back to drinking coffee, so you know." Ooh. What are your thoughts on a curated thrift that also sells thrift flips? Is it a way to become a designer? There are so many pathways to being a designer. There's so many pathways. Um, it's really about getting your product in front of eyes, in front of shoppers, in front of tastemakers, and by that I mean like magazine editors, that sort of thing. Who do you think is going to take over Vogue now that Anna Wintour is like kind of making her moves? People have been talking about Ava Chen, um, the head of fashion content at Instagram, I think, taking over Anna Wintour's job over at US Vogue. I'm very curious. When I was in Paris, I met somebody who works at Vogue. And so we were like, who do you think? And he was being very closed-lipped about it. And we're like, you know something. Come on, tell us. But we didn't get any juice. I'm 32 and haven't started for a multitude of reasons. I'd say my biggest hang up is my location and the feeling of having no energy after I worked a job that allows me to live. That's facts. Okay. First of all, not all of us can live in a fashion capital. Like LA is not like one of the big fashion capitals, but even LA, I have access to a lot more things than your average American city. Like trade shows come here. We have a garment district. We have like a fashion network here, like the second biggest in the US, but like, it's not anything like New York. But we have things in LA that New York does not. We have the land to have factories, which is why premium denim started here, because denim requires bigger factories to make those washes and all that stuff. And so that's why premium denim started here. Swimwear was here. because we're beach cities, and so we have the expertise in swimwear and activewear. So like that started here. So there are advantages to being in LA, but yeah, a lot of people cannot be in a fashion cabinet. A lot of people have to work a day job to get going. So that's facts. But you know, maybe you could save money. Maybe you start really slowly, start with one class, you know? So I feel that it doesn't necessarily have to be like quit your job and start this thing. Otherwise, it shows you don't have the passion for it. I don't like that kind of thinking at all because I'm a very practical person. And so some of us cannot just be like giving up our jobs and, the safety net of our 401ks to like launch into this whole endeavor. Like I'm able to do this brand because I've been saving and I've been kind of pocketing money and I have like a plan in place. Um, and I'll be talking about that on my channel, my new channel, like how I plan on funding Operation Reentry, things like that. But sometimes it can really lift your spirits to just do one thing on a regular basis towards your goals, like taking a very specific class. Like maybe there's like a weekend class where you learn how to sew at your local fabric store. Maybe you can create like a get together of people who are into fashion in your local area. um, Set aside some time like every Sunday where it's your Tyler time to watch some content and practice that content like right then and there. And that's your weekly like time. Like, I think that just having that bit of time every week can really do a lot for your mental health and like your goals. So, yeah. Do you have any book recs specifically for activewear? I've seen Designing for Activewear by Terry Park and Textiles for Sportswear by Roshan Shishu, but I haven't bought either yet. I have not read either book, but I'm actually really interested in those. So I'm actually going to copy and paste that into my notes. Wait, where is. I'm going to leave a note to self to check out those books and see how I feel. I'm a book hoarder. You know this. I love a book where I can learn some things. So yeah. What do you think will be the next new thing in fashion in the upcoming future? Like which new preferences or needs may arise from consumers? Mm, Definitely adaptive apparel. Definitely different sizes and shapes. I think that environmental factors are going to be a thing where people are going to want some kind of protections. I know during COVID, there was a whole market for interesting looking masks. So you didn't have to wear like your very clinical blue, regular surgical mask. But I'm afraid with climate change and air pollution that the kinds of accessories that protect your body and your lungs and things from these circumstances are going to be a factor. So somebody mentioned like UPF clothing, like clothing that protects you from the sun and stuff, like more things like that. um, I think when I went to functional, I talked to this guy about how they were making spandex out of corn. So things where we have a surplus of corn in this country, and you got to think about ways that you can use the surplus in ways that people actually want. So, like the idea of like, what do you do with all these stupid t-shirts? And what do you do with all this corn nobody's eating? Because I think it's something like Americans eat like 1% of the corn that's grown in this country and export the rest of it out. Like maybe 15 years ago, 20, 15 years ago, there was this huge movement where people were making tons of plastic products out of corn, like frisbees, like plastic toys and things were made out of corn. And so I think it really is going to have to deal heavily with planet resources and protecting ourselves from the planet, things like that. Currently making knitted zip ups. Didn't realize there's so many different gauges to make the wool weave big or small. Are you familiar with using gauges for knits? No, I am not an expert on knits. So, what do you think of ATL as a fashion hub? Mm, well, I've never been to Atlanta, so I don't really have much of an opinion on Atlanta. I mean, I know that Savannah College of Art, I think, has a campus also in Atlanta. It's so funny because I was on Threads and somebody was asking, why isn't Atlanta more of a fashion city? And nobody had a really good answer, or not at the point that I had read the thread. Maybe somebody came along later. But the thing about fashion cities, it has, it's not about who's stylish. It really is not. It's about a city's willingness to create the infrastructure. In San Francisco, there used to be a lot of industry and more fashion companies. Like the Gap is from San Francisco, Levi's is there, and there are tons of creative people in San Francisco, and so fashion could thrive there. But the mayor was never really willing to put in the infrastructure in place to create like a garment district where and like they had a fashion incubator, but it just kind of it was like really exciting for a minute and then just kind of but the local government has to push for that to provide the infrastructure, small business loans, like people in San Francisco, they can't even find a place to live, much less rent any kind of, business space. So there are all these outside things that are involved with creating a fashion capital. And a lot of that has to do with how the city runs businesses, small businesses. I'm very well adept. I just don't have the drive most of the time. I want to say it's a procrastination thing, which is just a terrible. What my earlier advice still stands. Even if it's not necessarily a matter of learning things, I do think that doing things every week, like regularly, like keeps you engaged and involved and energized. And if you can't do that, then maybe you just don't want it enough. That's really what it is. I think that just doing something every week uh in the field that you want to pursue will still do things for your mental health. And I'm also of the opinion that you can always be learning. Like I've been in this industry for 30 years and I love taking a class. I love learning new things all the time. So I don't shame you for the caffeine relapse. We're all busy people. Thank you. Okay. So we're at an hour and a half. So I'm going to cut the questions. I'm going to finish answering what's been posted, but that's it. This comment by Just Satria Art is going to be the last comment that I address. Okay. I just read an article from NYP about what does the college collapse of plus size fashion mean. Have you heard of this? When did this happen? Listen, okay, plus size fashion never has had really much of a heyday. So I don't know what they mean by collapse. What they kind of mean is we kind of had this like uptick where maybe some people were paying attention to us and then it didn't gather as much press and attention and applause as some brands wanted it to. And so they gave up. There's this little period where brands were applauded for having like one size 12, which is like more like a size 8, 10 model on the runway wearing one very stretchy dress. And once that applause left, they didn't want to deal with it anymore. That's kind of, and so a lot of it was super performative and they didn't actually have the larger sizes in stock in stores, online, whatever. And it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. They were determined that plus size didn't make money, and so they didn't wanna try it, and also they don't like fashion doesn't like fat people, and so they decided that they were gonna make this half-assed effort as a marketing push to be like, "Oh, we're inclusive," and then this half-assed effort didn't really make it anywhere because they weren't really into it, and so when the half-assed effort didn't sell. They're like, "See, we tried and it didn't work because it was a half-assed effort." And self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's kind of where we are right now, where all these brands have kind of given up. There are brands that have always been more interested in inclusivity, like Colleen Estrada, but yeah, for the most part, there's like three larger models, like who's that really beautiful Paloma somebody. Like there are a few larger models that are still working, but it's so tokeny. It's super tokeny, it's super performative. And Lane Bryant, Torrid, like those kinds of brands just churn out the same ugly cold shoulder t-shirt in an ugly print season after season. And the only reason why those companies make money is because women have like plus size women have no better options. And so, I mean, they have to wear something. Like when I was in high school, I was 220 pounds. And so I did need to shop plus. And I had no personal style back then because literally all I was doing was buying things that I could physically fit my body into. Like back in the 90s, like it was even more dire in terms of buying for larger sizes than it is now. There are so many more options now than there ever were back then. I wore a lot of menswear. I wore a lot of sweatpants. And it was simply a matter of getting my body into a thing. And we're kind of going back to that where plus size people have to wear this ugly crap because there's really literally nothing else out there. So I'm waiting. These trends cycle in and out, but I'm always pressing people to be more size inclusive. Like I'm wearing a universal standard t-shirt right now. They do like 0 to 40. Sneak peek, I plan on for my brand, I plan on doing kind of like a different sizing scale. I think I'm going to be doing a size 6 to 18 or something like that. Because my take on it is the average woman in the US is a size 12. So I'm going to make my average size a size 12. Like I'm going to make the 12 the middle size. You know how I'm always saying the middle size is the sample size? So, that's the average American size. And so I'm going to make the 12 my middle size and grade up and down from a 12. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like my measurements or anything is not set in stone or concrete or anything. Cause again, I don't even have a brand name or nothing. But that's kind of how I've thought for a long time is like if I had a brand, I would do that. And so I would be dressing the most women because the national average, but you know. So, yeah, the collapse is not really a collapse. It was a whimper and a petering out. Hmm. What are some ideas, notions you have on functional fashion? I mean, I don't know what you mean by that. That's kind of a vague sort of question. Do you predict people will dump fast fashion companies like Shein, Fashion Nova altogether? Even influencers, France just banned influencers promoting fast fashion giants like Shein. So first of all, that whole France banning Shein is it's like kind of annoying to me because why aren't you also banning Zara? Like they're just like they're kind of picking and choosing which fast fashion brands they're going to ban, and that's kind of shady. I don't know why. Like they should have a consolidated category of what consists as fast fashion and just ban them, period. So I don't know what that's all about. But this kind of goes back to what I've been saying is the key to sustainability is to, one, vote for the public representatives that believe in climate change, that believe in sustainability across all industries, because people are just not going to be doing the right thing left to their own devices most of the time. They have to have laws that forbid them from buying $3 dresses all the time. And that's just the facts. And so, unless the actual legal limitations are put in place, people are just going to buy, and they're always going to have a reason to, like, well, I can't afford, well, so until then, they're just going to keep growing into these giant monsters, you know. Can you speak about clothing that inhibits the growth of bacteria, antimicrobial fabrics? There was a time where people were really invested in using silver knitted and woven into fabrics for its antimicrobial effects. I don't know how far that went, but you can look that up. Okay. And this is the last thing, because it's Georgia. If you don't bring money or influence with local government, not happening. Yeah. ATL is also slowing down from being a tech hub. My actual question is how digital or remote fashion work will be. I want to be a remote designer. There are a lot of things that you can do remotely, like tech design. But at the end of the day, fashion is about making tangible products. We make clothing and accessories for the most part that have to be held by hands. And so there are going to be times where you really need to be in the room, in the fitting, in the try-ons, making the sales, And I mean, unless you're a traveling salesperson, that has always been remote, where you are a salesperson, and you work for a wholesale company, and you are visiting stores and having private events. Like, I work for a company where we had regional sales reps across the US, and they would do these events where they would rent a room in a hotel, like a small room or just like a nice suite, and they would have private showings for our wholesale clients. Like, I don't even know what most of these people look like, and because they're always on the road. But unless you're doing something like that where you are specifically supposed to be out and about. I also know this woman who works for a giant company, and her job is trend spotting. Like, she flies all over, also lives in New York, and runs around trend spotting and making forecasting reports specific to the brand that she works for. So there are a few things like that, but for the most part, it's really about people coming together to make a tangible product. And so there are limitations to how remote something can be. All right. So that's kind of it. Congrats from Nova Scotia. Thank you. The sound of a $3 dress makes my skin crawl, which it should, and it does mine too, but they exist. Listen, okay? There was this viral TikTok. This girl had ordered a dress online from, I forget which website, and I do not care, okay? Because it's not really about the website. The picture showed this woman wearing this tiny mini dress, strapless, and the whole thing was pearls, 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 strands and strands and strands of pearls. So much so that you couldn't tell what fabric was the foundation of the dress. The whole thing was covered in strands of pearls. It wasn't just even like studded in pearls, it was just strands and strands and strands of pearls on top of pearl studs. Okay. And it was beautiful. Okay. Like, it was a nice freaking looking dress. And they ordered it, and they're like, this is what I ordered and this is what I got. And what she ended up getting was this basic t-shirt dress with the pearls screen printed on the t-shirt dress. And I'm like, girl, you didn't even spend $100 on it. And what did you expect? What did you expect? And I don't want to hear shit about people saying I'm victim blaming. Like, You spent how little? Did you really expect pearls on pearls on pearls on pearls on pearls? Are you for freaking real right now? Yeah, you paid the price of a t-shirt dress. That is a reasonable price for a t-shirt dress, not pearls on pearls on pearls on pearls. Yeah, it was a terrible print. The whole thing was ugly. It wasn't even like a cute t-shirt dress. I got it. But like a dress like the original picture, 4 digits easily. Easily. And you're like, "Oh, I paid a whole $31 for this and I got a t." You should have just sat down and thought about it for a hot second and been like, "This looks shady." Okay? So anytime someone's like, "I ordered this. This is the picture I ordered and I paid $28 for it and this is what I got." I don't have any sympathy for those people. Because what were you thinking? What did you think $28 was going to get you? I live in LA. $28 might get me 2 sandwiches if I'm lucky. I went to a place and I ordered 2 breakfast burritos, and granted, those breakfast burritos were the size of babies. They were like as long as my forearm and twice as wide, okay? But it was still $34 for 2 breakfast burritos, okay? So you're telling me you ordered a dress with pearls on pearls on pearls on pearls on pearls on pearls for the price I paid for 2 breakfast burritos, and you're surprised at what you got in return? Girl, you need to think on that stuff. The things you you need to think on that stuff. Critical thinking, okay? Critical thinking. Please. Please. All right. This was super fun. It is getting close to 2 hours. I have loved hanging out with all of you. This was so great. I hope you will follow along with me on my journey on Operation Reentry. In It's going to be a lot of stream of consciousness. It's going to be a lot of me like trying to figure out decisions on camera. I'm going to have no eyebrows, wearing a baseball cap and just talking things out. And hopefully you'll learn some things, you'll find things amusing, or whatever. Yeah. So the breakfast burrito analogy is sending me. Listen, no diss, because those burritos were amazing. Okay. Eggs, bacon, hash browns, avocado, jalapenos. They were indeed delicious. And quite frankly, 2 meals. Like my burrito, like my husband has a big appetite. He ate all his, but it was 2 meals for me. It was 2 meals for me. But still, come on now. Let's be real. Girl, you were not scammed. You just didn't think. That's You were not scammed. You just okay. Anyway, thanks for joining me today on my 10-year anniversary. This is your absolute last chance to enter the giveaway. Okay. The giveaway is a chance to win one of 3 available private consults with yours truly. Okay. So leave a comment on that video, my 10-year anniversary description video, to enter the giveaway for your chance to win one of those consult slots. My husband's going to pick the winner later today. Don't forget to go to shop.zoehong.com because everything is 50% off until midnight tonight, Pacific time. Because I'm in California, I do everything Pacific time. Okay. But you still have 12 hours to shop. Everything is 50% off at shop.zoehong.com. Not at my Etsy store. I don't do sales on my Etsy store. I don't really like Etsy. It's just kind of there. It's kind of like my relationship with Amazon. Like I have my recommendations on Amazon because it's like a tidy place to have my recommendations there, but it's like I don't really support Amazon either. It's like, okay. So one last time, congrats. Where did you get the burritos from? Oh, it's just outside of Koreatown called the Breakfast Burrito Factory. Okay, Judette, if you're anywhere near that place is delicious. Okay. To go only. Like they don't have any tables, but it was good. It was really good. Da, da, da. Okay. I think where should I buy your books then? I recommend going to my publisher, Rocky Nook. Um, like if you go to my website and you click on the button, the picture of me with my book, it'll take you to an FAQ page with all the links. So go to zoehong.com, and I always recommend buying straight from my publisher. If you buy them from Amazon, that's great. Like the nice thing about Amazon, and I will give them this, is because they're such a huge presence. If you buy from Amazon, you can leave me a review on Amazon, and that really helps me. That really helps me with my rankings and my sales and my exposure on the algorithm. So if you ordered on Amazon, please rate and review either the book or design journal. If you're not somebody who rates and reviews anything anyway, you can buy from my publisher. You can also rate and review at my publisher's website also, Rocky Nook. So, yeah. So my top two choices are Rocky Nook, my actual publisher, or Amazon, so that you can leave a review. So those are my two preferences. But honestly, a sale is a sale. Like uh this woman was like, "Zoe, would it be helpful if I contacted my local library and requested your book?" Yes. Yes. If you can't afford my book, ask your local library. Like their job is to go through the requests and order books, buy the books for their library, and then you can check it out for free. So if you can't afford the book, request it from your local library. And those requests and those sales from the libraries and stuff, they also help me. So that's a free way to read my book. Right. The book is not on sale because I do not control retail prices on my books. Like I only put things on sale that I can control the retail price on. Okay. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a great time. I love chatting with all of y'all. Thanks for all the compliments on my hat because I love this hat so much. And please go subscribe to my other channel, Operation Reentry. I'm gonna drop the link again just in case. And please join me over there. But I think the plan is for me to move to monthly videos on this channel. I'm going to do a video on rayon. I'm going to do my Paris wrap up video. I'm also planning on making a video called Why is my polyester dress $300? Okay. So those are my next things, but like really my content is like good night from Turkey. Good night to Turkey. I kind of want to visit Turkey cuz like their denim industry is booming. Yeah. So, yeah. Bye, everyone.